what we did.
Certainly, him coming up with the nom de plume of Iceberg Slim was an extremely clever writer's device because it tells you right in the name, Slim, okay, he's good-looking, he's cat-like. Iceberg, he's cold, cold, cold. And only the tip of the iceberg showed just what he wanted you to see. Most of it was hidden from view. He said, no, on the street they called me Kavanaugh. That was my name, Kavanaugh.
Everybody was enthralled by the book. And we figured, let's go.
Pimp was the first real book about the street life and the first real black experience put into a book form.
You had James Baldwin, for example, or Ralph Ellison, very literate black writers who did not reflect the nitty-gritty of life on the street. Iceberg Slim was the real thing.
It was insightful in terms of the life of the street itself. You take something very gory or simple, but you bring poetry to it somehow.
The delivery is so poetic in nature that you are falling in love with the words, even though that they're words of violence and words of turmoil and terror.
It was so intriguing. Here I am, little girl, young girl, and I'm reading this stuff about pimps and drugs and prostitution, and you know, your imagination just goes haywire.
It just doesn't sound like anything else or feel like anything else. It's a snapshot of things you're never going to be able to see.
You can crack any page on the book and read out a paragraph, and it's the craziest shit you've ever heard. It's not just the game, it's the pain of the game.
He really tells you where this pimp is from and takes you into everything this pimp has gone through and what has made this pimp.
It was raw. To be able to write about such things in a way that captures the essence of what has transpired, as well as giving these events a certain literary flair, is, I think, what makes Pimp stand out.
Unrelentingly brutal. And Iceberg Slim's writing is so vivid and so clear, he makes it all inescapable.
A whole book is gripping. You cannot put it down.
The shit was so deep, written in deep slang, you know, a lot of people even heard that and didn't know what the fuck Iceberg was talking about. And that was the cool part about it, you know?
His publisher didn't understand the damn book. Said to him, these terms that you use, catching, blowing, tricking, bitches, bottom woman, I don't understand what you're talking about.
So I asked Bob, would he endeavor to compile a section of glossary in definition of some of the phrases. He said he'd be delighted to.
Chili pimp is defined as a small-time pimp, probably only has one hoe working for him, and he's new to the game. The bottom bitch is the pimp's main woman, who runs all the other hoes. Vic, or a trick, that's a mark or a victim. Why a trick? The trick pays for something that a real man gets for free. That's the trick of it.
And then when he did that, and I reread the book, and I've reread it many, many, many times, and I had the glossary to refer to, I felt I knew what I was reading.
He really laid out the etiquette of the pimp, the gentleman of leisure. You know, how flamboyant and how fly can this lifestyle be?
There was obviously a romantic element that appealed to a young black man of, gee, that'd be a great life to have.
The way he articulates his words and through his lifestyle, it makes pimping seem fun. It makes pimping seem like it's the coolest shit in the world. But really it's not. It's a tough sport.
When you're street poisoned, a youngster reads the book and he rationalizes. You see, we must have a rationale for stupidity. Anytime we do something stupid, we first got to convince ourselves that we've got to do that stupid thing. So they rationalize, oh, this stud, I'm hipper than this. I won't get cracked. You know, I won't get caught. I won't go to the joint. I won't go to the penitentiary. I won't use drugs. I won't use heroin. I won't get hooked. I won't be a junkie. I'll be cooler, you know. So the dude is righteous, but I'm more righteous. You know, so I'm more together than this dude. So this dude is old, you know. You see, this is the rationale. That's unfortunate. In L.A., where I've been living for the last 10 years, just hordes of youngsters approach me on the street. And they try to pick my brain for the hidden treasures they think are buried inside my skull. And I always slap their wrist before they reach for it.
He just wanted young black people to realize that your head can help you get on a higher plane. He de-glamorized it. He took all the glamour out of that.
We felt this was going to be an unusual book, and so we pursued unusual methods. And there was a chap by the name of Joe Pine on KTTV who ran wild interviews of the most bizarre and offbeat people, but he had an incredible audience. And so we called KTTV and presented to them the possibility of this author. Would he like to do an interview? Put him on, and all hell broke loose.
This is not one of the Reverend's evil spirits. Our guest masquerades under the name of Iceberg Slim. Many of you remember his story of his days as a procurer, or, if you will, a pimp. Now he leads a respectable family life. Iceberg Slim has gone straight, and for this reason, he continues to hide his identity. It's really paying you to go straight.
Oh, yes. This is a better bag, as they say.
You don't miss all that excitement, huh?
Oh, of course not. I mean,
you get to keep your money now.
That's right. And Pimp is a runaway bestseller.
Is that right?
They can't keep them on the stands.
We couldn't keep the phone silent. We didn't have time to punch 911 if we had to, because calls were coming in. Where can I buy the book?
When we got that box of books, and he brought them home with Pimp, you should have seen the dance that I did. And I said, I told you, goddammit, look at this. Didn't I tell you this was a book? Didn't I tell you? And he said, so what should be the next one?
He returns now to tell us about the most incredible con man he ever knew. A blonde-haired, blue-eyed Negro called White Folks. You're not putting us on, are you, Slim?
No, that's factual.
One of the things that Slim is incredibly brilliant at doing is being able to impersonate the voices of many people at once.
How did he get that name? Because of the fact that he could pass over the line of the color line?
Oh, that's right. White folks was a term applied to him by his friends. His enemies in the black ghetto called him Trick Baby.
The name of your book is Trick Baby.
That's right.
Here's what's great about Trick Baby. It's the structure of it. Because what it starts with is Iceberg himself being in the jail cell. And in comes what he perceives to be this white cat gets put into a cell. And then Iceberg then proceeds to tell you this story, but the story is told from first person from white folks' point of view.
Iceberg Slim's talent is the ability, the uncanny ability, to be able to memorize these snippets of conversation that he's had throughout his life and construct them into narratives and characters.
The book is an incredible adventure story of the con as it's played in the street.
And, I might add, because it's told in first person, it's classic noir structure.
I haven't had a chance to read this, but he knows I read his other one, and I just got this at this moment. If this is anything like your first book, it ought to really do well.
When a book reaches the level of a motion picture, the capability for exploitation is enormous. In 1972, Trick Baby became a film.
Trick Baby, Iceberg Slim's best-selling gut story of the world of the con, the hustlers, the high rollers, and the hatchet men who made it up.
His white skin gives us a slick edge. I catch the black marks, he catches the hunks.
Trick Baby, Iceberg Slim wrote it the way he lived it. It's his world, sometimes brutal but always real. Trick Baby, rated R. See it.
Trick Baby came out in January 1973 from Universal Pictures and was really one of the first so-called blaxploitation films to be based on a true story.
I wasn't really a fan of the black exploitation films that I'd seen, and I didn't consider Trick Baby to be one. It was a con man story.
There were lines of pimps and hustlers around the block in every city to see this film.
We got $25,000 from Universal, and he came home with it. He cashed the check and brought it all in cash, naturally. And he threw a full-length white mink coat out on the bed, and then all these $100 bills. He said, "So what do you think of that?" And I said, "We can get the hell out of this house." And I said, "And what is this?" He said, "A white mink coat." And I said, "I never told you I wanted a white mink coat. I don't like coats. You're going to wear this one." So I got a $10,000 white mink coat.
I never saw Robert in a state of euphoria. It was all very even. But he went from this platform of literati into film. He experienced that moment in the sun.
Well, I actually tried to pimp with an Iceberg Slim book. I'll never forget one time, one of my partners named Gary, we had some hoes, so I got in my little pimp suit, you know what I'm saying? So we showed up, so, we chopping them, we like, yeah, baby, we real live pimping, it's pimping jumping off. But these was real hoes, so they been around pimps, so of course they knew, so we trying to pimp on them, and, in the middle of the pimping, we running into the other room, breaking Iceberg Slim books open, like, yo, and then running back, yo, bitch, then you bitch, and they like, how long have you been doing this? The next day, the two hoes woke up and stole his car.
After he wrote Trick Baby in 1967, he published Mama Black Widow in 1969, the story of an African-American homosexual.
Homosexuality in those days was taboo. If you were in the closet, you were in the closet.
He really took those characters from the depths of society and brought them to the audience that he had.
I was especially interested in his book of essays, The Naked Soul of Iceberg Slim, which was a collection of his thoughts on political and cultural issues.
He also has a letter to his father in which he tries to invite him back into his life.
Some of the chapters, if you read them intensely, literally draws tears because they're so confessional.
After The Naked Soul of Iceberg Slim, he publishes Death Wish in 1977. It's a story about the mafia. He shows an artistic maturity by being able to envision lives that he did not necessarily directly have contact with.
In the book, the character Trick Baby basically is willing to play a deep hustle or a deep con. After reading the books, somebody said, dude got an album. I'm like, what?
I was stalking hoes in the center of town, right in the middle of the square, waiting for my man, because I had a plan to cop some reefer there. And I was flying fairly high, just standing there digging the holes.
Oh, shit. It was just like his voice and the way he, bitch, dry your tears. Now we had a voice to add to the words. As kids, picking that little bit of life up changed our whole style. We got turned out. My whole crew got turned out.
The very life that had shaped him and the very life that he could then turn around and write in a literary way and reflect on, which should have then catapulted him out of that life. At the same time then, because he's writing for a third-tier house, even though those books are selling, he has to still then step back into the life just to put food on the table at the same time that he's writing about it. That's like the double life of Robert Beck